20.
Jay Walker, Scott Dohmann, reminiscing about Raging Cajuns and the 2000 Ball Club. And we may ask Scott to stay just a couple of minutes longer because we do want to give all of you that are listening a chance. If you've got anything that you want to ask Scott or anything like that, I'll open up phone lines for a bit at 269-1077. Help me with this. The Super Regional, had the draft already happened? Or was it between the Super Regional and the World Series? I don't remember.
I found out I got drafted, I believe, the same day that would be put on a Sunday, so it must have been a Monday on the way home. And I have to tell you, it did not faze me that I was drafted. I was such on a high. We're going to Omaha.
Yeah.
Somebody told me I was drafted in the 6th round, and I almost shrugged my shoulders like, who cares? Honestly, who cares? I'm going to Omaha, and I'm going back to the UL was it Alumni House or whatever, where we had a big gathering.
Right.
With Lafayette waiting for us as we pulled up in the bus.
At some ridiculous hour of the morning.
Yeah.
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 Because I know I got back into town at about 5:30 a.m. In the College World Series, you got to start against San Jose State. And you and I were just talking about this. Of course, everybody had dyed their hair blonde. Tony finally dyed his blonde. Jason Gonzalez was quite a sight with blonde hair. The only one who looked stranger was Jarvis Larry. But they weren't the only ones. Your dad also dyed his hair blonde, and I remember them doing an interview with him during the San Jose game, and it wasn't until afterwards that I realized that they thought he was Gordy's dad, because by that time you were out of the game and Gordy was in.
Correct.
And then they corrected themselves, but for a minute they act, because they started talking about Gordy, and your dad. Oh well, Gordy will get him, and and then he finally got to mention you, and then they realized, okay, that was not Gordon O'Brien's dad, but I know your mom and dad had a heck of a time that year.
Oh, they had a blast. It was they rented an RV and they drove up. With relatives of mine. One is an aunt of mine who just recently passed, one of my biggest fans, and die-hard baseball fan. But they had a blast, renting an RV, driving up there. Dad, like you said, dyed his hair blonde, which wasn't easy to do because he was completely silver, and it came out platinum, so I had to get creative and add a little green to it. And it came out pretty much snot green.
Yeah,
but he was being festive. He was being festive. You could see the effort was there. He had a blast and got a lot of notoriety for it. It's funny. He's willing to do it again this year, guys.
Is that
just
right?
So you know.
I've seen him, I think, one time since then, and it had to have been in 2010 when they had the 10-year anniversary and they gave out the jerseys and stuff. I think I think they were there that day, and I want to say that might be the only time I've seen him since Omaha. But it was but they both looked great, and it was great to see him. And I know your dad's retired now, and
right.
But ready to dye his hair blonde again.
They're fun. They'd always find out what. They'd have to drive as far as they could on Morgan State to where they'd start getting the reception of 1420 to catch the games when we were out of town. They'd park on the side of the road right there in between Morgan City and Lafayette, and just enjoy the games. But they're looking forward to it. They're trying to come in this weekend too.
Hopefully they'll be able to do that. One of the things that we've talked about today, and of course, you live in town, and so you were able to go to a few games this year. How many ball players that have played, that have come through those gates at Teague Moore Field, have come back this year, for one weekend? And I'm not just talking about the 2000 club. I'm talking about guys that have played since then and before then, that have come. It's been one of the things this team's been able to do is kind of like have make this almost a homecoming season for so many ball players who are here.
And this 2014 is going to get that same thing because they're having such a great season. They're playing so well together. The chemistry is good. I think you see it more because a lot of the teams, 98 to 2000, we had some really winning seasons, whether it be the Sun Belt Conference tournament or just regional or super regional championships. We won together. Therefore, we want to hang out again together even more and even longer. And that'll never go away for the rest of our lives. And it's really special. And they're going to have this as a result of 2014, no matter how far we go.
You wound up pitching a couple of years for the Colorado Rockies. In fact, you were their ninth inning guy one of the seasons that you were there. Talk about the big league experience for just a minute. Is it one of those things that once you get the taste of it, it's like, oh my God, I got to keep going so I can get back?
Right. The easy part, if it is easy, is getting there. The hard part was staying, because now you're the bullseye's on your back. You got 1,200 minor leaguers below you trying to take your job every day. Don't slip up.
Day.
So the trick was trying to stay there, but the experience of it obviously was surreal, and you don't realize that you're actually in a Major League Baseball game. My first outing against Philadelphia, I didn't realize what was happening until I looked over and Jim Tomei was on first. He had gotten on with a single, and Vinny Castillo was my third baseman, Todd Helton, Larry Walker, Jeremy Burnett, Royce Clayton, Charles Johnson was my catcher, and I had a oh my God moment, like when Vinny threw me the ball. I'm not playing Nintendo anymore. I've played Nintendo with every one of these guys, and now I'm on the mound. It's very weird, but the experience, that was the trick in the first year, is getting over that and settling in. But the experience of Major League Baseball is something that there's not a big enough campfire for my grandkids to tell those stories.
You may not have to have you back on the show like weekly
right,
for a while.
Exactly. I'm gonna need a fishing camp and a hunting camp to be able to convey all those stories and just get it all out of my head.
You played in Japan for a year. You got time to hang around about 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
All right. We're at the top of the hour. Scott Dohmann is our guest. We're going to talk about life in Japan and some more here in an extended version of Bird's Eye View after this.